Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with Kansas City jazz organist Ken Lovern. He spoke about his latest OJT release called New Originals for the Green Lady on the Jazz Daddy Records, with the release date of November 7th, 2018. This is the fourth album released by the Kansas City group Organ Jazz Trio, featuring original compositions by Ken and Brian Baggett and one completely improvised piece titled Back Yard Improv Jam. Along with Ken on the Hammond B3 organ, the album features Brian Baggett on the guitar and Kevin Frazee on the drums. We spoke about this release, The Green Lady, Kansas City, and so much more. So please get to know Ken, OJT, and dig this interview, my friends.
Ken, thanks for taking a minute for Neon Jazz. I'm excited to talk about the new album.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Up front, I just want to ask, how did this album come about?
Our last record 3 years ago was new standards for the Green Lady. So that was kind of the covers we'd been doing, and we opted to cover, instead of just all old jazz standards and bebop tunes and stuff, and we like playing those, we started playing more recent pop tunes. And that record came out, but the other part of the music we play a lot at Green Lady is our original compositions. Brian's a composer. I'm a composer. All of my records have always had some of my compositions on them. And so, you know, we do a fair amount of those, and we wanted to do a record that had our originals on it. And this is a studio record. We recorded it in my studio. There's one tune that was just complete improv, and so all three of us, Kevin Frazee, the drummer, and Brian Baggett, the guitar player, and myself, are all composers of that one. That was fairly interesting in that we'd been playing these tunes at the Green Lady Lounge for a while, and you know, we're working on trying to get a good recording one day, and we'd probably done 3 or 4 takes of every tune we were doing that day, and we probably couldn't do any more. We had done about all we were going to do, but it's like, well, let's just play something completely improvised. And that's the Back Yard Improv Jam that's on there. And I really like that piece because we're not trying to do anything, we're just playing. So that's a little bit of the background, and we recorded it here. It's on CD. It's coming out on vinyl. It's available. It'll be available for download. I guess the big release date is November 7th.
Okay. And so this is your 4th full-length album. My question to you is this. Do you feel more comfortable now after, you know, this being your 4th release versus your first release? Or is it just all music you're playing no matter what, you're just evolving as time goes on?
The studio stuff has changed a little bit in that I've started to really enjoy just recording at my place and engineering it myself. So that's evolved over the years, and I used to have work with mix engineers a little more than I do now. I'll still have somebody who's a professional mix engineer come over and help me, but I essentially mix this with the help of Rob Rebeck. I usually use a mastering engineer. I guess the process has changed somewhat just because I've done more recording, and so it evolves a little bit. And the biggest change, though, is that I've really come to enjoy recording the studio stuff myself at my studio.
So I'm looking through each of these songs and the stories behind it. And there's a lot of these that harken to traveling. You got Rooftop Blues, which was done in the Power and Light District. If you had to pick a tune on here, personally, that really epitomized the essence of what you're doing on this album, what would it be?
Well, that's kind of tough because I think my favorite composition on it is track 1, Lamb and I. But that's kind of an atypical piece. I think the Rooftop Blues, I think, is pretty representative of the group. That's an up-tempo blues written by Brian. That track is pretty representative of, I think, just the group's vibe.
What do you want the end user to feel after they listen to this album? How do you want it to move them?
Well, hopefully to a good place. You know, we're creating this music to hopefully communicate with people the joy of music. So hopefully it just makes them feel good and they feel the groove. I mean, that's something we're all pretty committed to. The music just keeps grooving, and that's one of the main focuses. So yeah, that it makes people feel a little groovier and feel like they're in a good place.
The luster of the Green Lady Lounge continues to mount. There's so much good that's coming out of there. There's music all the time. There's all kinds of good stuff that's going on. My question to you is this with this release. in conjunction with it being at the Green Lady and with the Green Lady being involved. Are you hopeful and expectant of a more national and even international audience for this release?
Oh, that would be great. Because it features our original compositions, it's a little more personal and a little more unique to the band. And we are doing what we can to get it out there, to get it on as much jazz radio as we can, to get it, placed in as many places as possible. One of the unique links to the Green Lady Lounge is that the owner, John Scott's, always encouraged us to do our original music. That's one of the things he encourages everybody to do. And part of that is Green Lady Radio, where it's all original music by Kansas City jazz artists. And so that's maybe the other piece that's related to Green Lady Lounge, is that that's original music. It'll be on Green Lady Radio. Hopefully it'll be played on, other great radio outlets throughout the world, such as Neon Jazz. We just hope that as many people want to hear it can hear it.
The one thing that's evident, it's one thing to listen to an album, but it's a whole other experience to see a group live. And when I see you and Brian and Kevin live, I get the very genuine sense that you guys work well together. But I want to know, in your words, why do you all enjoy what you do as much as you do together on the stage?
We're all committed musicians. I mean, we've all dedicated our lives to, creating music and being the best musicians we can be. That helps that we all have that commitment and respect for each other's commitment to that. And I think we have a fairly shared aesthetic. A part of that is just the groove. Kevin's commitment to keeping the groove going, and Brian's a very rhythmic guitar player. And so we're all thinking about staying in the pocket, making it feel good. And I think everybody's very good and very sensitive at listening to each other and, supporting each other. And I think that's part of what makes this fun is nobody's trying to take over the show. Everybody's just trying to create it with each other. And that always, so it's very collaborative, and that really helps make it fun.
There's a lot of new albums that are coming out. You may not know where the musicians are coming from. It could be New York, it could be LA, it could maybe be in Europe. But it's very defined that this album and you and the OJT is coming from Kansas City. My question is this. Each time we speak, and it's usually on a somewhat yearly interval, the Kansas City scene continues to get better and better. Talk to me about how good this scene is and how great it is to have an album that's kind of a signature for the Green Lady and the Kansas City era that's going on right now.
Well, the scene is strong. It's stronger than I ever remember. There's a lot of facets to it. My focus is at the Green Lady Lounge. I'm there 4 or 5 nights a week. And so I see a lot of what's going on there. On weekend nights, there's 3 stages happening. There's the Green Lady Lounge upstairs, there's the Orion Room downstairs, and there's the Black Dolphin next door. And so I get to hear a lot of bands, maybe only for 10 minutes on a break, or a little longer than that, maybe after I'm done. But there's a lot of great young musicians. A lot of those guys have come to Kansas City to go to UMKC and study with Bobby Watson, but other ones have just, grown up in the area. And so there's a lot of great young musicians, and there's gigs for them. There's a variety of gigs for them to do different types of music, and there's other venues constantly. There's other venues opening up. The Blue Room continues to do its thing and have music. There's lots of gigs at restaurants. And I think the Kansas City musicians tend to be supportive of each other, which is super great. And it makes it really a joy to work. And it is fun at the Green Lady. Sometimes you'll have a bunch of, you'll have 3 bands on break at the same time, and there's 20 musicians out in the street talking to each other. And that's just really great to be a part of that. So I think the Kansas City scene is doing very well. It's multifaceted, and I'm kind of in one little part of it at this point in my career. But I know there's a lot of other stuff going on that's pretty amazing.
With that word amazing, I think that's a great way to wrap everything up. Good luck with new originals. Again, Ken, thank you for taking some time out for Neon Jazz. I appreciate it. Love the music.
Thanks to you, Joe, and thanks to Neon Jazz. Keep it swinging.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Kansas City, Missouri, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Ken for his cool and his attention to the Kansas City jazz scene. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com for everything Neon Jazz. Go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.